Welcome to the Wildspire Conversations podcast. You get to be a fly on the wall for my intimate coaching sessions with inspiring entrepreneurs who are changing the world. I'm your host, Stephanie Benedetto Padovani, wild creation coach and soul storyteller at The Awakened Business, where I help coaches, therapists, and creative entrepreneurs craft an irresistible message and broadcast it to the world. In each conversation, I'll ask curious, playful questions, challenging us to connect with the deeper purpose and joy of what we're here to do. We may experience one or more of the following: articulation of their soul's message and mission, life-changing stories, insights, ahas, and wisdom nuggets, ideas for new products, services, or businesses. Truth is, I have no idea exactly what will emerge, because there's no agenda for this conversation. Anything can happen when we step into the unknown of infinite creativity, and that's where we're going to play. It's time to get wild-spired. My guests today are Hobie and Nina Armstrong, a husband and wife power duo. This is the first time that I have done a coaching session with two people and released it, no less, in a public forum. It was a lot of fun. Here's Hobie and Nina's story. Shortly after marrying, they decided to combine their individual skills, energy, and motivation in one direction and started HobieNina.com, which includes music on the move entertainment services and makeup on the move for beauty consultations and makeup artistry, which is actually how I met Hobie way back in my wedding DJ days. Their skill sets and strengths complement each other. While they're very different, Hobie likes to be out front doing the talking, and Nina claims to prefer staying behind the scenes, but at times I kind of have my doubts because she's quite the force herself. Each of them excels in their individual areas of expertise and then come together working as a team. So in this conversation, Hobie, Nina, and I explore the birth of an idea that includes both of them, the next evolution of their husband-wife business dynamic. Without further ado, Hobie and Nina. Hobie and Nina, thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm really excited for our conversation. And this is the first time I have done a conversation like this with two people at once. So you are the first. You're going to have to break me in. I hope you're gentle.
It's exciting.
Excellent. So just a little background, because I'm feeling moved to mention it. I know Hobie and Nina from my years in the wedding industry in New York, and they have grown far beyond simply weddings, of course. They have multiple businesses, and I'm really excited to talk with you and take our reconnection further today. So I would love to ask both of you, if there was one thing you could get from this conversation today that would be really amazing for you, what would that be?
Ooh. The one thing, I guess, more insight, or, we've talked before about the awakening that you bring to the table. So, and it's just the next step in the process, or the journey of discovering different things about myself and about business and about where we are in 2020 and moving forward. I'm, I guess, excited and, into that insight. I don't know, Nina?
Yeah, I would love to just go just a tiny bit further, Hobie, first, is like, all right, so what, if you could have any insight about this awakening, and I what I see is there's an awakening in you that I'm really interested in. Like, if you could have any insight about that awakening, what would it be?
I've been trying to figure out the piece of that evolution that we had talked about before,
mm-hmm.
and how it is that I come to that that space of seeing things, like how somebody that's a visionary sees different things and where things are going, or how things connect that other people wouldn't normally connect. Because that, I guess that's one of my intellects or my insight of, connecting music and makeup.
Yeah.
Was an insight, but it came from our relationship, our passions, our love of what we do and what we bring together. And, so it became that beautiful combination, and that was something where when we started the business, we already had the music and entertainment business, but nobody had ever connected the fact that you're dealing with the same clientele. You're sitting down with a bride and she needs makeup services. Well, why not offer it to them? But what other DJ company does that? You're a DJ. What do you know about makeup? And
so would it be, Hobie, that you'd like to kind of see the next evolution for you, like in something like that, and or communicate, like I'm trying to see, like, is it that, or also maybe communicating that, like how you do that, or how you, what it is that about the way you see the world that lets you see those kinds of connections that are real opportunities of things that other people miss?
Yeah, that's because I don't know if Nina in the beginning saw it.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, it's natural. It's just something that I'm like, oh, well, I've never been someone that likes being pigeonholed into a certain category or a certain, so this is a round peg, so it has to go into a round hole. Like, this is a square peg and this has to go into a square hole. I'm like, well, so I guess I ask those questions. Why can't they both go into the same hole? You just make the hole bigger so that both things can fit. That I don't know where that comes from. So, but it's an insight and something that I've done very well, and we've built successful businesses. But from the coaching standpoint now, it's how do you teach that? If those are my God-given gifts, how do I teach that or explain that or examine that so that other people can benefit from? How do I help other people in this process? Other entrepreneurs, other business owners. It's like I always wish that there was somebody there that could have coached me through that whole thing, because everything was trial and error. We had 20 years of trying this, and oops, that didn't work. Let's try something else.
Cool.
And that experience now is something that I truly want to give back to other people. Say, hey, look at what's happening now, because it's, Nina said it before, we're at a pause. And, in a lot of different ways. And how do you look forward to the next step, or the next month,
Cool.
the next year?
That's thank you, Hobie. I think we've got the gist of it. So like what we're going to do is kind of just let that like lightly rest, set it as our light intention, and then just like go explore and see what we can get from that. Cool. So
Okay.
Nina, what would you most like to get from this conversation? If you could take away one thing that would be really amazing for you.
How to be better. How to be better in everything that we do. Better in our relationship, better in our communication, better in forwarding the energy that we bring to other people, because the energy that we do have when we do events, whether it's the wedding or whether it's a business training seminar, that energy has to translate to all the other people that we're trying to impact. So it's how to, even if we tiptoe in a little bit towards the future, we're still moving forward. So how to be better in everything that we do.
Cool. Okay. So let's see, from here.
Are we getting better?
Yeah, we are. Right now, can't you feel it? It's happening right in this moment. So let's start with like, all right, Hobie. So do you see a place as you're imagining it? Would you like to, as you move into this next thing, this evolution, your next evolution, your evolution continues of, it sounds like from what you said that there's at least a little bit of direction on it, like that you want to be doing something to help entrepreneurs, people who were in the position that you were in. And man, I wish I'd had somebody who could have mentored me or guided me through this or coached me through this. So do you see a place, or would you like for there to be a place for Nina in that vision as well? What do you envision? What comes up around that?
Yes, that's the our very relationship is the dynamic of that. She has a different perspective that, I'm the talker, she's the listener. So so that process is, I might just be so go, bringing high energy to something, and she'll just be the one that's just calmly observing and just pick out, well, didn't you see this, this, and this? I'm like, how? No. I'm like, I just was like, let's go.
So what do you think about the idea of, like, what if the two of you were actually going to coach people together at the same time as a team? Would that be fun? Kind of like, just like you're here with me right now, and there was someone who came to you, an entrepreneur who's like, hey, I have this challenge. Would you like that idea, Nina? Obviously, like, do you feel like what role would you like to have in that? If Hobie's going to be the talker and you're going to be the listener, like, we're kind of just, if there are no limitations and you could do it however you want, what would you do? What would be fun?
That would be great, and I can see that happening in the near future. There's a couple things that I have to get over, like, fear of public speaking. But again, I'm still looking forward. Yes, it's a fear of mine. Yes, it's something I have to get over. But it's not a fear that's stopping me, per se, like it did maybe a year ago or even 5 years ago. That was not even possible in my mind. So now it's not only it's possible in the future, it's definitely going in that direction.
Wow, that was cool. It's not just possible, it's definitely happening. I had a moment earlier this year where I was at this workshop, and I was, our last assignment was to present a little speech that we'd prepared that was about 10 minutes long. And, I've been a public speaker for many years, was the MC when we were DJing, and I've done lots of online speaking and in-person speaking. And I was fine. I was fine. And then I got up to take the seat, and there were only a handful of people there, like 10 people there. We all knew each other. And I sat in the seat and I went, wow, I'm feeling nervous. And I said, okay, all right. And I just got present, and I waited for a minute before I started. I waited till I could feel myself in the chair, and I knew I was in the room. And then I started, and it was fine. And because I stopped thinking about it, it was only when I sat in the chair, I started thinking about, I'm in the chair and I have to do this thing, and it's my last blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, wait. What if we don't have to get over the fear? We can just go, oh, okay, there's the fear. I'm present. It's okay. It's something that I played with, and it really, whenever we're present, things can flow, and you're just being with the person you're with, being in the room, doing what you're doing. Cool. So an entrepreneur, if you could help any entrepreneur, like you might even think of someone specific, you don't have to give me a name or anything, but like someone who's really inspiring and fun for you to help, and you want to help them evolve their business or evolve their life and business, like who would be the most inspiring person that you could work with?
Mm. Oh, off the top of my head, like teachers come to mind right now, just because I know a lot of friends, and my mom's a retired teacher. I've been, in my family, there's been a lot of different teachers. I understand and know that struggle of what what everybody's trying to deal with now, from the homeschooling and online learning and this social distance classroom situation, and they're all just trying to figure out what this new world of education is going to be. And personally, I think it's time that things needed to change, because I've always believed in education and knowledge, and going through that process, but the current system is born out of something of yesteryear. And so how does that evolve? In I mean, even going back to your question before about seeing the coaching end of it, like I know Nina would light up if we did coaching on a beach.
That's already just like ding ding ding.
No, but the location of where you are physically does something to how people react to things. So understanding that, why does a school have to be in a brick and mortar setting, where learning, right now we're having a conversation via Zoom, and it's just one of those things where this evolution that we're talking about, how does education evolve? And so coaching an entrepreneur that is in the education field, of how do you change the way that you convey your messages? And my inspiration before was like, you inspired me to this place where I'm like, all right, I want to be able to write a book, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a book per se if it's in the multimedia space of I learn a lot from Netflix movies and documentary type. I learn from educational entertainment, where there's media pieces that are out there that you find that inspire you on YouTube or on a Facebook ad that, it's like, oh wait, that piece of stuff, and it sparks something in your thought process.
Yeah.
So
cool. So working with entrepreneurs in education would be really inspiring, like new frontiers, the evolution of what's happening in education. And how about for you, Nina? What do you think? Would that be fun for you? Or is there something else? Because like there are no limits here. Like we could make this thing up however you want. You can have as many different types of clients. We're just playing here. It's like all about creation. So what do you think would be inspiring for you?
For me, someone who is willing to look outside themselves and outside the box that they would put in. Specifically, the people I love working with is beauty industry. Oftentimes they've been pigeonholed and, cutting hair or do this. They're incredibly talented and creative people. But to do the business building portion of it, no one really teaches them. So if I can work with creatives that are super talented, super hungry. They're willing to step out of what they have been taught or been put into, and willing to do more for themselves or the business or the family or the clients. Whatever it is, the driving force that's driving them, then that'd be phenomenal. And there's just the beauty industry, but really anyone who is hungry.
So
Right.
I have this crazy idea just because I'm like, I'm thinking about how your relationship has inspired these, as Hobie you were saying earlier, these interesting combinations of things that most people would never think go together. So like, what if you do it again? Is there a way that the beauty industry or something like it that's really creative and super inspiring goes with those people, those entrepreneurs who are looking for different ways, they're innovating, they're evolving our educational system?
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird idea, right? Like, I'm like, beauty. So I'm thinking, well, what if it looks like something? So tell me a little bit, Nina, about people who are drawn to the beauty industry. What do they value? Like, what's important to them? Like, why do they do it?
For a lot of people, it's an instant gratification of achieving something. It's making somebody feel good about themselves. So when you go in and you have a crappy haircut, or your hair just doesn't look right, or it's a special occasion, and you really need to look up to par, and it's that an hour or two in the chair of sitting and accomplishing something where, the woman looks at herself and says, wow. And I think for a lot of people, it's that instant gratification because you really can see the impact and change you're making on someone's life,
Hmm. Hmm.
even if it's for an hour or two. There's other people that truly in for creative portion of it, and there's some people in it for a money portion of it because they can make good living or decent living or whatever the standards are for that in particular individual. Um, but I think
What is it most for you, Nina?
it's the instant gratification.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So I'm kind of wondering, and maybe Hobie, you might see something here, or it might be something to ponder. I'm just playing around with ideas. But I'm like,
Mhm.
what if you were to take those creatives, they could be actual people in the beauty industry, or they could be people from another industry. Okay, cool. All right. So see, the way we get evolution is by getting outside of what we've always done, right? Like, so we actually need to go outside of the norm, outside of the industry. So what if we went into some industry, it could be beauty, it could be something else, and found entrepreneurs there who would be willing to come in and work with these people in the education space and bring what they know. So for example, very like the arts and beauty, right? Like that's one area.
Mhm.
People who are in television, entertainment, theater, there are all kinds of arts. But if they start bringing that creativity to the education space, and so I'm really spitballing here, but like, what if the two of you bring them together and
Mhm.
help them to create something, identifying, all right, here are the challenges we have in our current education system. Here's where it's failing us. Let's, like, almost like a think tank or something is where it could begin, so that you actually start to see where it could evolve to. Because right now, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe you have some inkling. Let me ask you that. Do you have
Sure.
an inkling, Hobie, from where, you're talking to your mom who's a retired teacher, or as you've been thinking about it?
Well, it's in when not in traditional end of, because it definitely has to be something outside because it's always the extracurricular, the arts and funding,
Right.
and always get cut because of traditional means of money and financing. So it's I mean, my personal experience with Up With People is an organization that was a nonprofit that was outside of that norm because it was a lot of that entertainment, because you traveled around the world, performing shows. So it was based on the performance aspect because that's how you made money, but it was a nonprofit that had to be sponsored. But ultimately, the educational process was the learning of, you had 170 people from 25 different countries coming together as a cast to be able to learn on a real time. I did a lighting internship, a sound internship, like I became like the DJ for the cast because that's what I brought to the table. But everybody else had, singing background, musician, you had the musicians and, so drummers, guitar players, horn, vocalists, but you're coming together in that collaborative space of you're all putting on a show and traveling around the world. So it would definitely have to be, something outside of the traditional, come to a school.
Do you think, would it be fun to do something like what you experienced with Up With People in an educational environment? So like with either the teachers or the kids or the teachers and the kids, where they could either come to you. I'm like playing with all kinds of combinations just to get ideas, right?
Yep.
So when I do this, I give myself complete permission to have stupid ideas, dumb ideas, ideas that don't make any sense, because like there'll be a something, there's always a something. So I'm not going to interrupt myself with any more of those disclaimers. I'm just going to do it. So like, what if you had something like this, like a retreat or an experience that, I don't know if it's teachers and kids, maybe it's the teachers, because you can inspire the teachers where they come and they learn how to work together and create. And it's like you teach them how to make education fun in different ways, like how to let it be more of a performance, and there are all kinds of aspects. You could do it through the metaphor. It's like the ultimate team building experience to put on a show together, right? Like you have to learn how to work together and communicate. And if you have people like, you could model something like this, or it could be totally different, or it could be something like you have entrepreneurs from different industries who come in and offer something in the educational environment. So it's almost like in the beauty industry, for example, you could have someone who, you could take it different ways. Like people could come in and just give young people an experience of what it's really like to love what you do, to let it be fun. And maybe they could bring something that sparks an idea for how, like, what would it be like if you had in an educational environment a way to help both the teachers and the students to see that they'd accomplish something immediately, like to get that feedback. I'm thinking of Dr. Jane Goodall, and she does a lot of work with the youth. And if you're familiar, she's the woman who did the chimpanzee research with National Geographic, and she's got a great story. I just listened to a podcast interview she did with Tim Ferriss not long ago. And what she does is she goes into these countries in Africa and other places where the children have very few opportunities, and they have programs where they come up with ideas to change the world. They do things locally and they actually implement it, because the greatest thing that we can teach our children is that they can make a difference. The reason we don't do things is because we think, oh, I can't make a difference. It's too big of a problem, right? So I'm spinning a lot there, but I'm wondering, like, Nina, do you hear anything in that is interesting to you? Did you get any ideas from it, or?
The one that I like to is people from different backgrounds coming together, a lot of different entrepreneurs, because there's a bigger chance to learn of different things that you might not even thought about. People from all different walks, because I'm always looking for something to learn from someone. And, it might be a person I never expected to.
I love the concept of what you were saying, that the people coming together whether it's a retreat or a workshop or something in that sense, for the mission, we've always talked, and we were just working on with the bio that together we're unstoppable.
Mm.
So that the evolution of that is, it's us as a couple, us as business partners, us as, husband and wife, but you branch that out where it's all of the collectives of different entrepreneurs that can come together in that same fashion of what do you bring to the table? What expertise can you teach the other people? And each person, bringing that, that would be powerful. It's from an education standpoint, because you're facilitating that learning process.
Mm. Okay, so that's cool. So now we have people from different backgrounds, different entrepreneurial backgrounds, and including people who are in education. So it might be education focused, are you still feeling an education focus, or do you want to extend it a little bit more broadly to just like anybody who's into learning from other industries and innovating and having this experience of together we're unstoppable, like beyond, not individually and as a collective?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Cool.
Where do we register?
Yeah, it sounds good, right?
I'm like,
so
why not?
What would you like people to come away with? Let's just say we've got these amazing entrepreneurs from different spaces, all with their own skills, talents, viewpoints, ways of looking at things, personalities, but they're here to evolve, right? Like that's really what, like, I want to evolve. I want to get outside the box. I want to be creative. So what would you want them to come away with? Like if you could give them anything and facilitate anything for them, what would they be walking away from this with?
This sense of community, the belief that there's things that are greater than yourself and your own individuality, where we're all in we're all in it together, where that togetherness, that connectiveness on more of a spiritual and emotional and human level of, I'm at a place in my life now. It's more about the giving back and what can you share, and leaving that legacy of, I don't know, the purpose of something greater than yourself.
So would you want them to have an experience of what they'd like to give back and the legacy that they would like to leave, or is that your legacy? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I would want people to find their way of being able to do that and achieve that. And that's, I guess that's some of the awakening or the enlightenment of all of us together, being able to see that. We went through that with the Tony Robbins training. He's all about unleash the power within, and now, in the empowerment of that, and going on to do great things and be, as Nina said, be better. Every day is one step closer to being better people, or being able to explain that or experience that. So if there's a workshop, or if there's a I don't know. I mean, I don't know, going back to the event piece of it, we both come from the event world, but I really like that idea of a retreat or a workshop that builds on that, you know, and we throw it on the beach so that Nina's happy. She can put her toes in the water.
You know, this is the way you get to make it up however you want. And it happens that a lot of people would be motivated to do an event on the beach, or a retreat. It's a very nice environment. So how about you, Nina? Like, what experience would you want people to have, and what would you want them to come away with? If there's anything additional.
Simply put, is better human. Because everybody comes to the table with different ideas and different wants and needs, but as long as they leave a better human, they've learned, they've evolved, they've grown, they want to be better and achieve more and do more for themselves and others. That would make me superbly happy.
I like that.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's what they say. I think there's a place for the husband's happiness in there too.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what would be the most fun, and this is, no limitations, remember, I'm just reminding us, we could do whatever we want. The most fun way to do that, to create that kind of experience where there's the sense of community and people finding the way that they want to leave their legacy. There's connectedness on a spiritual, emotional, human level, empowerment, and they leave being a better human. What would be the most fun way? If you could do it anyway, how would you want to do that? It's on the beach, first of all.
No, it just needs to have a water.
Okay.
She just needs her kid.
It could be in a lake too.
Okay, now.
There's beaches on our lakes.
Yeah.
I think somewhere where there's a way to do things that it involves all the people. Whether it's near the beach or on the beach or some type of exercises or something to help people get over their fears a lot of times and work together, learn how to work together as a team to achieve those things. I've seen some of the places that do like exercises. They go bungee jumping and help each other getting over fears, like walking on a rope bridges and stuff. I don't know. It's crazy, but I've done it myself, and it does help you get over certain things because you do have to work as a team to get across something. And you have to learn how to communicate and how to do things that you normally would not be able to do.
See, all I hear from her is we're doing Amazing Race. This is the filter of our relationship. So
and it works.
I'm like, okay. My answer is something with music. It just, I relate to the rhythms and the energy and
Oh, no wonder you love Tony Robbins.
The vibration.
It's got everything.
Yeah.
He's
So I don't know that somehow, some way, some crazy music festival.
So you can do music, right? Anyway, like how would you want to do the music? Would you be doing the music individually, or would it just be there? Would there be live musicians? Like if you could have anything, again, like
all of the above, because I know too many, from DJs to producers to remixers to, live musicians, and, if you put that into a collaborative space of
Ooh. Okay. So
the create, because that creates the energy of, it, and I've worked in all of those pieces. So I don't want to, say, well, this has to just be, marching band style, or just has to be DJ, or because even that gets segregated in, electronic DJs versus hip hop DJs versus, it's, if you're collaborative putting stuff together, the music of the future, I believe, is more of a fusion. So it's taking all these different pieces of what, what resonates with positive energy. It's that for Nina, it's reggae.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I don't have any one piece, because it's
okay.
Mom has. I've listened to everything from classical to jazz to rock to hip hop, and
so there are lots of ways for people to get over their fears. So again, I'm brainstorming. A lot of people have that fear of public speaking, or fear of being on stage, fear of singing. Music is a powerful way. So I'm thinking of a couple different ways that you could do this. Like, because again, you can make this up however you want. You could have these people from these different industries, these creatives, who are all here to learn and grow and get outside the box, which means they're going to be doing something that's probably feeling a little uncomfortable for them, right? Like, you set them up with that. Like, you're going to do some stuff you've probably never done or attempted before. That's the point, because you're going to come out of this learning more about yourself, connecting with others, knowing you're in it together, working as a team, creating something, like discovering more about what your impact to be in the world, right? Like, whatever you narrow in on, like, this is pretty broad right now. It'll get more specific as you get into it. But we're in there. We're in the vicinity. So you could take these people and have them, for example, do adventure activities like you were talking about, Nina. They could do the bungee jumping, or something that requires them to work as a team and learn how to communicate and trust each other and find a common goal, and all of those really cool things. And they could also have an aspect of performance, like maybe they're part of the music that's being created live, or they have some kind of, there's a performance aspect to it. It could be separate, it could be together. It could be like you take them through these different kinds of experiences that are provoking this, and teach them how to, it's like all of this becomes a metaphor. This is the really cool thing that I see about everything, really literally everything that we do. We're living in a metaphor. So when you do something like bungee jump, when you do anything that you thought you could never do, it becomes a metaphor for your life. Wow, if I could do that, I can do anything. When you come together and you create a performance and you learn to have fun with people you never met before, and make a fool of yourself and make mistakes and be okay with it. Like, they begin to see, like, it now, life is more of an adventure, or life is a game, or life is a performance where I get to be in the spotlight and be a star. Like, there's so many different metaphors for people to live into that help them to evolve personally and professionally. And they'll probably make some amazing relationships along the way.
Yeah.
So what's coming up for you in that? Anything else interesting, or?
The connectiveness of making those connections, mentally and physically and emotionally. It's having I do connect to those different things, past, present and future, looking for that next piece of what it is, and it's not just what somebody is telling you it has to be. because if you define it for yourself, what those connections are, what that metaphor is that you say. So that experience is, like Nina breaking the board, or, I know people that are the Tony Robbins fire walkers, where having that's the metaphor of I've walked on fire. So, but I don't know, you can put it on a t-shirt. It becomes, I survived the whatever it is that the experience is, but that becomes, the S on your chest of what you connect with, or what you identify with. So it really does become that next step, or that the new journey that you discover. So it takes you down a new road. I definitely see that whole, I don't know what the word would be for the wholeness of that being something, that entity being all together for somebody. Like here's your new package, and it's putting it together for them, because it's, going back to what we were talking about before. That's what I see. I see that connection of you can do this for somebody, and here's the connection, and this is your new metaphor of your or your business, or your next journey, or your next experience, or your next.
Okay. So I'm seeing there might even be another piece to this. So like, here's the experience they have that gives them this deeper experience of themselves, moving past their fears, learning how to work with others and communicate, and just like, wow, getting outside the box. And then like, wow, their whole world in a sense has been flipped upside down. They are no longer the same person. And from there, you could help them to take that experience and those learnings and incorporate it into their businesses. So like now there's actually like an integration period, or maybe that's where there's some coaching where, I mean, that experience is valuable in itself. But if you chose, you could also have, as a part of it, a journey where they work with you for 3 months or 6 months or a year to now really evolve all of that. Like this is like, bam, they come together and have this amazingly bonding experience. And then you take them on this journey where they integrate everything they're learning, and maybe there are little mini experiences along the way, or maybe there are more of them or something. And now, Hobie, you do the thing that you do, which is help them to make the connections, to find the opportunities within their industries or something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, because now they're no longer looking at things as square pegs and and round holes. There's this new ball of these things, because you've molded it into something that can fit anywhere, as long as they see that they can make space for being able to make it fit. That's, I guess that's my metaphor for, how do you pack a car for a vacation and see where all the different pieces fit? And most people look at it and it's like this, I get so excited, like, all right, we can make these pieces fit in here. How many times have you had too much equipment? And you got to try and fit it into the van, and it's like, we weren't thinking about these extra wires and this extra bag and that extra piece of stuff. So but I love doing stuff like that, like, because it's like, all right, we got it all to fit, and
so that
sure how it was going to fit. That's that vision of being able to see how the different pieces, because I'm not trying to put, this this peg into this space because you say it has to go there. Nobody says that it has to go there. You can change it and evolve it and put it somewhere else, but it still fits into this whole bigger picture. And a lot of people have to look at their businesses that way now and for the future, because it's like, okay, you still do what you want to do, but you have to evolve to the next way of how you're putting those things together, because otherwise you're going to go out of business. You're going to, and that sometimes that's not a bad thing. If you're done with what you needed to do and you're going to go out of business, now you need to start a new business or take what you have, a piece of it. And I've shut down businesses and started new businesses, and, you partner with different people, and now it becomes a different collaboration of, bands break up all the time, and, now you start a new band. It doesn't mean that you stop doing music.
So what would be the simplest way that you could begin this thing and like do your very first experience, your very first event? So I'm thinking like MVP, minimum viable product. So like in the software industry, when they are first testing out their software concept, a lot of times it's as simple as a spreadsheet. Like there's not even any software yet, like that kind of simplicity. So like what would be a fun way to test this out, to see what it wants to become? Because what I've found is that we find it in the doing of it. And since you've had so many businesses, I imagine you've probably seen something like this yourself. Like you start with what your idea is, with what you've got, and then it evolves, right? Like it becomes in the doing, and you get the feedback of, oh, this is working, this isn't working, let's try this thing. And then you find your footing from there. So what do you think would be a really fun and simple way to test it out?
Question.
Wow. I'm like,
that's usually his strength. Because when he tries to fit the equipment in the car, I step back because that's
So I'm gonna throw out. Oh, you got it. What'd you have? Tell me.
I mean, in the event end of it is the basics of my first step is finding the people that would want to participate. Because it's that's if it's just me and Nina in the room, it's like, okay, it's getting people, I don't know, like getting people on a Zoom or getting people in the same space to be able to have that conversation of we believe that together we're unstoppable, and what do you think about this concept? So we're putting it down on, we're thinking about a date and a time and a collaborative effort to create and see what's possible. Is it a workshop? Is it a retreat, or is it something else? Is it
so here's something I'm thinking about. Like, yeah, absolutely, that's perfect, Hobie. That's like where you begin. Like, who's interested? Who can I get who's interested in collaborating and creating and participating and experiencing in this thing? So you invite people to it. I'm wondering, like, what if you actually you hosted such an event, you arranged one, a small one, maybe it's only a few hours, but it's like an initial thing. It could be on Zoom, if that seems like the thing to do. Like, wow, that's interesting. How could you do a Zoom version of this if everybody's doing it remotely? And you get Maybe you have a couple people who do different kinds of experiences around teamwork, challenges, solving puzzles together or something like that. Or if you're able to do something in person, you could do, you just see who's available. You could bring the music aspect in since you have a lot of contacts. You could do something adventure-ish that doesn't have to be, bungee jumping.
Yeah.
It could be something, smaller or just, but fun. And, so you have the spirit of it and you can really test it out. I'll give you an example of how I did this when I was creating something I was calling at the time the Wild Creation Experience. And when I started, I really did not know at all what I wanted it to be. And the first thing that I did was I had some of my friends, I contacted them. I wanted 5 people. And I said, just show up and, play with me for a few hours. And we're going to do, and I told them the kind of experience they were going to have. We're going to have fun. It's going to be playful. It's going to be creative. We're going to get outside the box. Like there was a lot of experimental play. So I gave them an idea, but they didn't really know what they were in for, but they know me. And they were like, yeah, I want to be there. So I had these people show up and I did it remotely. And I learned a lot. Like I got feedback from them. They had fun. I said, I surveyed them afterward. I said, what were your biggest takeaways? What would you want more of? What was the best thing about it? How could I improve it? And then I did one in person. So I said, okay, now I'm taking that and I want to do something as a live experience. And since then, it's kind of evolved in all sorts of different ways, but that was like my beginning way to test it rather than, because I don't know exactly what this experience is until I start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Cool. So we need to, go ahead.
Nina still wants to get some sort of water.
Yeah, do it. Why not?
She wants to put her feet in the water. It's not the right time in New York.
Not in New York, but people can travel. It still happens sometimes.
Yeah, I know you got a beach somewhere close to you.
I do. You might just have to come on down to Florida and do your event.
Yeah, that might be a possibility.
That's right. So as we're wrapping up our conversation here, I would love to know from each of you, what's your biggest insight from this conversation today?
Just the discovery process of going through and throwing ideas around and see what's possible, really. Things that I haven't thought about that you brought up. So that was really cool.
That's the biggest piece for me because she doesn't like the brainstorm. Like I'm all about, let's have a meeting, let's have a brainstorming session. In B&I, we did that all the time. We're, getting, the leadership, presidents or vice presidents to be able to brainstorm on how can you get your chapters to be better. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the pieces I've always loved that, but her not so much.
Yeah, usually it's like you figure it out and just tell me.
So that's I'm glad that she went first because so we can do more of this.
What's your experience of that, Nina? Like, was it actually kind of fun, maybe? Interesting?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I always love that piece of the insight. Like, okay, I like that concept because it's, I guess it helps me put those pieces together. That is part of the process for me, of putting those pieces together and coming to the point where when we first talked, it was like I had this inspiration that you inspired me to write a book, but I've never wanted to be an author, or I'm the one that had my SAT scores, were all math and not not much in the English. So I don't know. Writing a book to me was like, is that something that I really would want to do? Go through the process of going down that road, where I'm like, I'm better with programming and numbers, and the analytical side of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I would like maybe, see this as more of a viable way to be able to get the message and the learning of stuff out. And then maybe it's more of a booklet.
No, you can. Like, what if you can just allow it to show you? If there needs to be a book, you'll know. Mm-hmm. If you're the one who writes it, great. Mm. It might be somebody helps. They're like ghostwriters and people who help you take your stuff and turn it into books. And there are all kinds of ways to write books. You could record your presentations and that becomes a book. People have written books making blog posts that are like short little, each becomes a chapter or something. And yeah, it doesn't take a lot of words to change someone's life. In fact, it doesn't take any words. Just one insight, one new thought.
One new thought.
Yeah, can change someone's life forever. Mm-hmm. I would definitely, what I see in the dynamic between the two of you is that you both do really bring such beautiful complementary things to your businesses. And I would encourage you both to be as involved as you want to be in the creation of this. Like, I think of business as like it comes from your own individual purpose, inclinations, your preferences, the things you're drawn towards, your mission in the world, your genius gifts. Like that's all a part of it. And the more you're willing to like let that be in the generation of it, the more juicy and vibrant and alive it can become as it's born and as it evolves. So I think it's really wonderful, and I'm glad to be able to do this with you. This was fun.
This is like the essence of Hobie Nina, which we never knew how to define it before, because it was like she's like, that's silly. We've got to come up with a better name. I'm like. How do you come up with a better name? Because
there is, as much as Hobie, you're very comfortable talking and being upfront, and Nina, you've at least in the past been more quiet and calm and listening. When you speak, you really have something to say, and I hear it and I feel it, and you have as Hobie pointed out, you see some of the things he misses, and you have insights that I feel it when you say it. Like, yeah, you want to create stuff. You know what I mean? There's stuff in there that wants to come out. So it's really fun. And that actually, this process can become a way for you to evolve your relationship to the next level of intimacy, deepening your partnership. All of those things that you're talking about that will happen when people attend your event are happening just by your creating it for you.
I think so.
Yeah, I love it. So where can people find Hobie Nina if they want to reach out to you, connect with you? Where's the best place?
The website is hobienina.com. That's where we have a connection to all of our business adventures and even the coming soons. We're going to use that as the launching. And I mean, all of the other business pieces can be found off of that. She actually just created a new Instagram yesterday through this process. We were like, oh, we don't have a Instagram for this. So it's brand new as of.
Nice. This is happening. This is definitely happening. I'm quoted. We recorded this, Nina. You said this is definitely happening. I mean, you're talking about you speaking, but I think this is definitely happening, this whole thing. Awesome.
So yeah, we're Hobie Nina on Instagram. We have the Facebook Hobie Nina, which we got to update. We need help with the updating social media.
You'll know when it needs to happen. You'll know. Yeah, just keep it moving. It sounds great. So yeah, excellent. So connect with Hobie and Nina at hobienina.com. And thank you so much for joining me today. It was great fun, and I appreciate you both. Hey, thanks for joining me for today's Wildspire conversation. If you'd like to receive a weekly Wild Creation email from me filled with more inspiring stories, marketing experiments, playful questions, new podcast episodes, videos and freebies, and anything else I'm playing with, go to theawakenedbusiness.com/wild creation. Until next time, may you know yourself as the gorgeous wild creation you are.